Time, sir. How you doing?
I'm
Doing
good. All right,
great.
Chris speaks here today with Brandon Mosley for our BCS State of Alabama podcast, and we got Dr. Will Boyd, who is running for the Democratic nomination for governor and was the 2022 Democratic nominee for senator. I think this has got all the candidates now for running for governor, right, Brandon? Unless somebody else jumps
Other
in.
than Tuberville, you have not.
Oh yeah, Tuberville. But we covered all the Democrats here, right?
Yeah, at the moment there's three. I keep hearing rumors of other people getting in, but
Okay. So, Dr. Boyd,
there
last time
there
you
will be
ran,
people that qualify in January that we were not even talking about now.
yeah. So, Dr. Boyd, last time you ran for Senate for an open seat, and now we've got another one open. Why did you decide you wanted to be governor instead of senator?
Well, my whole goal has always been to make sure I provide a shot for every Alabamian to have an opportunity to succeed. Simple words, I state I want every Alabamian to have a shot at the American dream. So obviously, as governor, I can do more to impact the state here for every one of our 67 counties serving as governor, the chief executive.
Um, Dr. Boyd, last time the Democrat, it was, Yolanda Flowers, who's running again this time, was the nominee. And I don't think she got anywhere near 40% of the vote. What is your plan, to reach beyond just Democrat primary voters and try to get, I don't know if there are swing voters in Alabama, to try to find swing voters, where we can make this competitive?
Absolutely. Well, the last time we saw someone break 40% was Walt Maddox. And of course, I was his running mate as lieutenant governor at the time. I think this year is totally different. One of the things that I've done specifically to make sure that we reach across the aisle is to embrace issues that affect all Alabamians. I'm proud to say the Alabama Cannabis Coalition endorsed me. That has actually attracted many who are in between that range of 18 and 29 years of age, as well as we've seen more Caucasian supporters than African American supporters in this race. That number has increased. We've also seen where more women, Caucasian voters, have come out and supported us as well. So what we're doing is we're reaching, of course, everybody we can with a 67 county strategy, but making sure that we do a lot with our volunteers that we have. Over 600 volunteers are working with us in this particular effort. So we're starting out right now, 8 months before the primary, in a place we've never been before. So we can really make an impact statewide and touch everybody out there. We didn't have this type of support in any race I've ever run.
Dr. Boyd, guys, just you online last week. When I was coming up, there really wasn't a big difference between Republicans and Democrats, and now we see that it seems like there's a great divide there. I've still got a picture of me holding up a Clinton Gore place card. What does it mean to be a Democrat today?
I think a Democrat is someone who is very inclusive of all people, someone who really wants to work for all of Alabama. If my opponent will be Tommy Tuberville on the other side of the aisle, he has already stated that he only wants to, well, really says he has no hope in the left. So he's really saying he wants to target 50% of the population. Democrats, on the other hand, we want to reach out to all Alabamians. I recognize I'd be elected as the governor, not just a Democrat, but a governor for all. So I think a Democrat in Alabama today is someone who fights for the working class, working people. I've been out there in the field for years without stopping with organized labor, but at the same time, as a business professor, I've shown that I can actually help small and large businesses. So a Democrat says I can work with blue collar workers and white collar workers at the same time. A Democrat is also concerned about equity by zip codes as it relates to education. My opponent says he wants to spend $1.3 billion on prisons. I would rather see that $1.3 billion on our education system. So we right now have obviously a whole lot of work to do. I'm a former professor and dean that can talk about what we can do to succeed in Alabama. But these are things that Democrats stand for: equal pay as it relates to men and women, gender equality. We fight for health care to be accessible for everyone. And right now, the top three issues that Alabamians are facing that Democrats are working on, in my mind, are health, care, the economy, and stability in communities.
Dr. Boyd, Tuesday, because the Senate couldn't agree on just how to fund the government, we went in a government shutdown. You know, the Republicans are blaming the Democrats are blaming the Republicans up there. How has this shutdown impacted your race, and is is there going to be negative repercussions for Democrat candidates if this gets any longer?
Great question. You know, the top issue I just mentioned is healthcare. And I think the Democrats on the Hill or in Washington and Congress are fighting to make sure that the subsidies are there, that any cuts that were made are restored. They're looking forward to making sure that Alabamians, particularly, are not going to see increases, obviously, in the costs that they have to pay, whether it be a deductible, something relating to Medicaid, Medicare. But long story short, Republicans are blaming Democrats, Democrats blaming Republicans. That's not what we need right now. We need a nation and we need a state with representatives who will come to the table and say lives are at stake, families are at stake. Right now in Alabama, we have about 43,000 people who are directly affected by this government shutdown. In North Alabama alone, around Huntsville, Madison County, you're looking at about 20,000 people who are affected. So you want a governor who is going to reach out to the Shamori figures, the Terry Sewells of the state, of course, and reach back over to those in the congressional delegation on the other side, the likes of the Adderholts or whoever it may be, that may be representing the state of Alabama or any other state for that nation, and say it's important that we come to the table and work together for all Alabamians or whatever state we're serving. And we're just not seeing that this particular strategy is helping anybody. So if I had the opportunity to talk to the Speaker of the House or the House Minority Leader, I would certainly say to both, come to the table. We need to bring our differences of opinion to the table, whether it's at the White House with the president sitting there, and let's make sure we come to some type solution. We don't need to continue to operate by continuing resolutions. We don't need to keep kicking cans down the road. If someone has a concern about inefficiencies of departments or budgets, OMB office, or could tell where those inefficiencies are, we need to look at the fact that some changes definitely may need to be made. But long story short, you don't use a shutdown to do that. I don't recall this type of strategy being employed in any shutdown that I've witnessed. And again, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you have to say lives are at stake. Again, 43,000 in Alabama alone.
I want to follow up with a question with you. You said you'd like to say the 1.3 billion used in education. I think last time we had the largest education budget ever. Is that really the right thing to do? Is to keep throwing more money at it, or is there another way we can improve the education system?
Another excellent question. You know, our budget is pretty much divided into general areas that we call the Educational Trust Fund, which is about 10 billion, and of course the general fund about 3. So right now, even with 10 billion there, we are still seeing where we're experiencing shortfalls. Our students aren't competitive. We have a lot of work we need to do for student success in our state. So yes, I definitely believe it will take that and more. I even believe we need a lottery to make sure that we are where we need to be from an educational point of view. We've seen raids on the Educational Trust Fund in past years. Some have called it the Educational Slush Fund because the money that should be restricted has been tapped into. So any money that is there needs to be restricted for that. You know, some people have differences of opinion, depending on your party, about the Choose Act, or at least people being able to choose where their children go. I certainly support anybody making those decisions, parents about where their children should go. But if it compromises the money going towards a public school system, I have a problem with that. We're seeing a lot of failing schools in Alabama. We're seeing infrastructure issues. We have a lot of places where there is no broadband access at all. And we just need that money to stay where it is in the Educational Trust Fund.
If the parents in Alabama would choose to send their kid to a Catholic school across town or to homeschool, um, the money we raised in education for education, why not let the money follow the child? And if that means that a failing public school ultimately closes, or we need to consolidate public schools,
It,
is that just letting the market be the market?
I'm I'm a former business professor, so I would argue if you're purely capitalist in terms of your economy or your business approach, uh, yes, that would work. We are a blend of capitalism and socialism. There's a problem with obviously that scenario. While it sounds good on paper, let the money follow the student. Uh, there's some students who don't have a choice about where they live. They can only go to the public school that is there in their neighborhood or not far from it. So it's not right to penalize them, setting them further behind because all money is going with other students to different places. There has to be a way that, again, we sit down at the table together, Republicans and Democrats, and even independents, and say, how can we fully fund the educational journey of all students in Alabama as they make decisions about where they want to go? So again, excellent question, but I think we need to figure out what happens to those who don't have a choice about where they are enrolled and where they go to school. My father,
Dr. Boyd, you mentioned, I'm
superintendent,
sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say my father was a superintendent. I was a professor and a dean. My wife taught at the primary, secondary level. My mother taught and was a nurse. My middle aged brother was the youngest superintendent in the state of South Carolina. Education is very important to us. Also have a lot of people around me that have their children in private schools, and I understand why. I just want to make sure that we allow every student to have the opportunity to succeed. That is my reason for saying we need to sit down together, not leave public schools behind, but also make sure we work together to provide opportunities for others to succeed.
Dr. Boyd, you mentioned having the backing of the Cannabis Coalition, or I think that was the name of it. Um, so what's your position on that? Do you think it should be totally legalized, or there should be restrictions on it, or I'm not, what is your position?
My position, generally speaking, is this. We need to legalize it, yes, but let's pause for a second. When we had HB 445 in play, a lot of people felt like they didn't have an opportunity to decide what took place, what was on the floor, what issues were being addressed. Some felt like representatives, or at least those who were on the floor, were passing along bad information. Long story short, people felt like they weren't being heard. We have now about 1,000 businesses that are facing closure. Some have inventory. I talked to a person this week who owns a CBD store. Long story short, he actually said he's seen his sales drop about 40%. He had to throw about $6,000 worth of inventory in the trash. Uh, Obviously, you know what happened. I won't go into that for your listeners unless you want me to, but without there being any agreement between physicians, people who own these businesses, and even patients. No legislative session that was called, like I will do in my first year in my administration, where we'll come together and talk about it. None of this took place. As a result, now we lost even $1 million of revenue in a time where we have a budget that is experiencing shortfalls. You've heard some reporters, uh, some who are in the media industry, say that the sugar high is over, is the way they've described it. We're going to see where revenues are drying up. We've appreciated being able to draw money from interest, but that is drying up. We need stable revenue sources and streams. So I think we need to bring, again, physicians to the table to talk about how hemp helps or does not help. Talk to patients about how they've enjoyed the ability to use, whether it's the gummies or whether it's something smokable in terms of a product, to get past the pain in their last years of life, to avoid having bags given to them at the VA and them just feeling miserable, to deal with any problems they face. So what I rolled out is a hemp plan that you can find, anybody can find on my website, drwillboyd.com. And that plan just talks about everything I'm going to do to make sure we move forward. Other states like Texas, Indiana, New York have faced the same type legislative action, but through injunctions and legal actions, people working together on both sides of the aisle, they're able to go back and enjoy use of the products. I personally do not believe, I've never smoked, I've never chewed a gummy, but long story short, I believe in that capitalism we're kind of talking about earlier as it relates to being able to choose where you want to go. I believe we should let business owners have the ability to run their own businesses. Of course, we have boards that govern what they can and can't do, but long story short, people felt they were left behind, they weren't listened to. So that's why I have, again, the Alabama Cannabis Coalition endorsement. I listened to them, spent 4.5 hours with the president, and started talking about all the issues that were at stake, seeing where we could go. And once I did that, that's when everybody started joining behind, saying, we appreciate your help. And it's not just hemp, it's other businesses as well. People feel like, again, they want to be represented, and that's why they come to me to serve as their future governor.
Dr. Boyd, earlier you said that you objected to spending, I think, 1.3 billion on the two mega prisons. You know, the numbers I'm hearing is the real numbers like 2.2 billion.
Correct, correct.
But didn't the state get into this mess because they underfunded their prisons for the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and then now they've got, federal lawsuits breathing down on them, about the conditions in the prisons. So this, current administration is like, hey, we'll build prisons, to shut down some of the obsolescent, prisons we haven't maintained, in past decades.
Right.
Are we really at a point where we have no choice but to build a couple of mega prisons and maybe go back in and rehab some of the, I think there's 27 prisons now. If we close 10, we still have 17 older prisons.
Again, I appreciate the question. I think it's a great one. But if you look at the prison system now, the parole board in general, you will actually see that there's a lot we can do without even building more prisons. Right now, we have many people, even as it relates to hemp and other different, I'll just say, products. People have been, by technicality, placed into prisons. I know personally people who were behind bars in certain counties of our state who've never had the opportunity of a motion for discovery. Said simply, they don't know why they're in jail almost 2 years. We have some women right now, as I talk to, who call me and tell me the conditions of the prison, who don't have products to use in larger, more modern prisons. Right now, in certain, one particularly in the one of the largest counties, biggest city in our state, we're seeing where they don't have what they need. They're struggling. They're falling behind. So if we just allow there to be more opportunities for paroles, you're looking at somewhere around a parole rate of, and again, I'm not certain right now, but I think around 50% in 2018. Today, we're looking at about under 5% of people being paroled. We're also looking at where the budget for the parole board has only been decreased about 5%. So you might want to go the opposite end before you start talking about what you're doing to build more prisons. Let's look at how many paroles we actually have and why, if that number isn't changing in terms of the number of dollars that we give to the parole board, why aren't they doing more? As governor, I would go in and move towards us rapidly processing the backlog, the cases that are there, and seeing who's there. Work to make sure you transition people out so there's not a case for recidivism. Work to make sure that there are humane conditions in the prisons that are there. And to your point, when you have prisons that are outdated or perhaps dilapidated, I think, yes, the state definitely needs to come behind and make sure that we are replacing those. But I don't believe we're in a state where we need to build with 1.3 or 2.3 to replace what we had. I believe personally, our state has really rewarded people for punishment. They're saying that in our state, we would rather catch people at the bottom of the cliff after they fall rather than having a guide rail at the top to make sure we prevent them from falling in the first place. We do everything we can to reward housing prisoners. It's a prison business. People get big money for this. So I think if we had more oversight, people coming in to look at the current prison conditions, perhaps a fair assessment of where we are by a board or a group of people from the outside to determine which direction we take, whether we build or whether we just support what we currently have, I believe we'd see a whole lot of changes. Furthermore, one more time, I want to reiterate, I believe the biggest way to eliminate the bulge, or at least the overcrowding, is to process those who are in the pipeline to, again, be paroled and make sure we stop this continuous influx of people going in for reasons that are out of hand. I know some people are asked when they're arrested, would you rather go to a mental hospital or jail? That should not even be a choice. If you know someone needs help for a mental issue, they should have mental treatment. If you know that they violated some parole or they've committed a crime, then you know they need to be in prison. So again, these are things that I think need to be addressed. So answering your question directly, we do not need to build more prisons to support dilapidated buildings. We just need to go back in and look at the system overall, and just a few corrections, I believe we'll be fine. We're overcrowded right now. That's the main problem.
Dr. Boyd, it's interesting you said that about prison being a business here. It seems like we see so many sheriffs and judges and prosecutors who run tough on crime. And I think with certain crimes, there should be toughness. But I have a friend who's a prosecutor that a DA that I will not name, but he's told me that they are trying to do everything they can not to send people to prison because of the overcrowding. Do you think we should look at uh, how our sentencing guidelines are? Because I remember a
Absolutely.
kid a couple years ago, he got beat to death in prison because he went to prison for stealing something over $500 and ends up getting beat. Is that really what we're going to do? Send nonviolent criminals down there that turn them violent?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And I think that we need to look at the way in which people are sentenced. I know some people want mandatory sentencing. I think it should be a case by case type approach. I think obviously when you have someone who has committed a non-violent crime, but they're thrown into an environment with people who are violent, it's only a matter of time before they are either hurt or killed. And of course, we see where people are killed in prisons, not just from neglect, not just from people treating them badly who may be wearing a uniform. And again, I'm not against any wardens or any people who serve in our state, but we have a problem. I think we need to admit that. We have one of the highest inmate populations, not only in the nation, but in the world. So that we have to stop and ask ourselves, what are we doing? I mean, I know some DAs personally myself. Uh, Lived in the same neighborhood, sit down and eat with some. But long story short, I really believe that most law enforcement officers that I know, if not 99% of them, they are really out there to protect and serve. Most of the sheriffs I know and the deputies I know, they are really trying their best, as you said earlier, not to send people to prison, but there needs to be a review of why, again, some people are behind bars for certain crimes with others who should not be.
Dr. Boyd, you talked a bit earlier about increasing the number of paroles or expediting paroles or, getting more prisoners out of prison. I think last year Birmingham set its all-time record for the number of murders. I mean, at one point, after the COVID deal, where the courts had been shut down for 18 months, there were like 230 um, people that had been charged with murder that were on the streets of Mobile just waiting for their trials out on bond.
Yes.
Are you afraid if we do anything to increase those paroles, we may make our crime situation across this state, especially in our, big cities, a whole lot worse?
Right. I'm not saying you mixed apples with oranges there, but let me say it this way. I believe people who have, as we just stated, committed nonviolent crimes, have not committed crimes of moral turpitude, people who are there for technicality reasons should be placed up front and move into a parole place, or a place where their cases are seen sooner. That's what I'm speaking about, a rapid review for parole. So it's done by almost like inventory analysis. Those who are less violent in their crimes certainly go out. I don't know if I want to flip it, and I said apples and oranges. I do not believe people who have committed any violent crime should be on the streets of Alabama at all. They should be all locked up in terms of those who are waiting even for something else to curb, whether it be a trial, what have you. As far as it relates to violent crimes in Alabama, we can talk about other statistics, maternity, mortality, infant mortality, but when you talk about violent crimes, you're looking at somewhere around 511 per 100,000 in Alabama. That's higher than the national average. So we need to make sure that we do all we can to be tough on crime. And this is why I believe in neighborhoods, we not only say we move or bump up our neighborhood watch activities, we also want to get law enforcement partnering with communities to make sure we're identifying people who are potentially committing these violent crimes and make sure that they are approached, that we work with them, that we talk to them. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's just having the opportunity to talk to somebody that can diffuse a potential crime from ever occurring in the first place. Again, having law enforcement officers in communities makes a difference. People feeling like the law enforcement in their community wants to serve and protect them versus out to get them. What we also want to see is more money going towards DA offices, more money going towards our court system so that we are not in places where we're falling behind, money's not there. Once we, again, work towards helping our judicial system, making sure we have even the right police presence on the street, that makes a difference. Not a National Guard, but police presence. Right now, people have reached out to me from law enforcement agencies. We have even like ALEA, right now, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency. We have highway patrols that obviously are experiencing a whole lot of stress and strain, if you would, because they're being stretched all over the state. So there's a lot we can do to make sure we have a safer community, no matter our zip code. But I really believe we have to work to make sure, again, violent offenders are apprehended, they stay where they are, but those who are, again, nonviolent have the opportunity to go free.
Dr. Boyd, kind of along the same lines you was talking about, helping law enforcement neighborhoods and stuff. I remember Governor Ivey was talking about creating some kind of crime suppression team and sending it to Birmingham or something. Is there something the governor can do to help the crime problem, wherever it is, or is that something that should be left to the local law enforcement officers?
Oh, I definitely believe, making it very clear, that is a possibility and something I would do. I believe earlier I talked about law enforcement officers. There were only about 250 highway patrols on the interstates in 2018 when I was running for lieutenant governor any given time. You think about how big Alabama is, 67 counties, only 250 troopers. Now, I can't speak for all of law enforcement agencies across the state, but again, think about how many miles there are of interstate we have. We need a lot more support. So answering your question, we do not need a National Guard to come in. As a matter of fact, a National Guard could not, by law, come in and do police work. They cannot come in and do what our local law enforcement would do. But to your point, I believe that the governor can make sure that every county that needs any type support has the help of, again, a LEA or a suppression team that may come in and be of help. It's very important that we have a team that could help rush towards an area that is in a critical need position. So yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Um, Keeping on this crime and punishment deal, Alabama, I think, just about invented the execution by nitrogen epoxia thing. I
Right.
think a week from Thursday, we did our fifth or sixth nitrogen epoxia execution. I think us in Texas have like the highest execution rates in the country. As governor, are you comfortable with, the rate at which we're just offing our murderer guys?
Not at all. And I do recognize when you say someone is on death row, they are obviously awaiting the time to be put to death. I understand obviously what that looks like. I understand obviously as a family who may have a member who was victimized or killed, you want to see justice. And for some that's the closure they want to see. I do believe we have to be, and it sounds like an oxymoron, or it sounds like it's not something that you would say at the same time, but I think we have to be humane about the way we move towards even the treatment of a death penalty process. The process you just mentioned, sounded to me almost like it was experimentalized, that was in process type testing as they went along. When a person has to go through that excruciating pain of an execution, of course, normally it is swift, and there is obviously death. We've watched a number of them, you've seen a number of them, read about a number of them, probably written about a number of them, where some have been going through the process and it didn't work. It went much longer than it should have. Uh, that is not what I think our state should be about. Now, I'm going to tell you straight out, I'm a person who believes in life. So if I were called at the last minute to talk about or at least discuss with someone whether or not somebody should live or die, I'm not in favor of the death penalty. So that is something that I would have to deal with on a case by case basis myself, because I believe life is important.
Dr. Boyd, I got a
Some
double
people
cuff.
did not ever get out of prison though because of their actions. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Please forgive me, Chris.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I talked
Um,
too long.
well, you're giving some great answers. I got to tell you that one of the best interviews I think I've ever had. So let me ask you this. I got a couple cuff questions here for you. Do you feel that, being a black candidate in Alabama, you have more to overcome winning the nomination than a white candidate does?
I do. I do. There are a lot of people who believe in the African American communities that we'll never see an African American governor. We might have seen a president of the United States, but they don't believe that it's possible because of some people's uh, beliefs about an African American person, male or female. Uh, I do believe on even the Caucasian or white side. There are some people who believe that it is tough for a person of color, a person of a different gender other than the male, to succeed and do well. Obviously, Kay Ivey is serving as our governor, so that gender barrier has been overcome. But we've not seen where an African American has sat in the seat of a lieutenant governor or a governor in a southern state like Alabama. I do believe it's time, believe it or not, with all the things I've done. I have an awesome team. I have Elizabeth working with me and so many others, English and others who are on the team, Chris, and I can call a lot of names who are with me, Paul. But long story short, with all the support I have across the state, I really do believe people are saying they really want to see that type of mindset put to bed. I have more white supporters who are donating to my campaign, more women who are actively involved in my campaign, believe it or not. And I know I've said believe it or not 30 or 40 times. I want to say this because I want Alabama to believe this is possible. There are many people who don't fit the mold that are supporting our campaign because they're tired. They just don't feel they're being heard. There's even a picture, if you dug hard enough over the last week, you'll find that even people who wore red hats, uh, Trump supporters, President Trump supporters, are even supporting me along this journey in Alabama because they want to see change. So I believe people are going to be surprised in November when I'm elected governor.
Along that line, I think we hit a low point this last time where, Democrats talk the talk on, Facebook and social media, maybe to their friends, about, Democrat issues or whatever, but then they didn't donate to their candidates. I think you experienced that to a point as US in your US
Absolutely.
Senate run. Of
Big
course, in
time.
Yolanda, I think her whole campaign didn't raise $15,000.
Right, right,
I think Kay was 7.5 million, which is second only to Don Siegelman when he
right.
was running for reelection. The Tuberville campaign, I've not seen their latest report, but they've already raised, after the August report, they've raised over $6 million.
Right.
Um, I've been told their goal is to, hit that $10 million threshold that only Don Siegelman reached. Are you afraid that you're just going to get drowned out by just nonstop TV commercials, radio ads, billboards, all of that, unless Democrats step up their game and don't, I mean, dig deeper into their pocketbooks to fund their candidates the way apparently the Tuberville supporters are backing theirs.
Back in 2022, obviously when I was running for U.S. Senate, people talked a great bit about what they were going to do to make sure they put me in office. And what ended up happening is many people crossed the line, even Democrats, and voted for my opponent, uh, the Honorable Senator Katie Britt. And I believe they believed that because she followed behind Honorable Senator Shelby and had obviously chief of staff experience, that she would do well above a person like myself who obviously did not hold higher office. I've been an elected official, but not in the capacity that she did. So for whatever reason, you could argue many reasons why. I'm not going to get into race or age or whatever it may be. People crossed the line. So they talked big. Democrats went and voted for a Republican. I received little or no help myself in my campaign, even though I had obviously crossed the state, crisscrossed the state. I don't know if you recall, but I won the primary, won every county. So if there was anyone to prove or any way to prove that I was a viable candidate, I proved it in the winning of every county. People just believe with Alabama that it is a red state, that it wasn't possible for a Democrat to win. So going towards the money issue, I really believe the money that is coming in now, for whatever reason, I'm not a Republican, so I can't answer the question, but I believe it has intentions of scaring off any other competitors. Now there is a McPheeters, I believe his name is. I know most of
Yes, Ken
them.
McPeters.
He is in the race, and I don't think he's even raised $1,000 to qualify. So he does have primary opposition, but pretty much the money that's coming in would prevent anybody else from getting in. As far as me running against him, you ask whether I'm going to be concerned about an onslaught of commercials after commercial after commercial. It's been the history, and let's be transparent here. I'm a what you see is what you get person. I've served twice as the leader or as the chair of the Lauderdale County Democratic Executive Committee, twice elected. I've been twice elected to the State Democratic Executive Committee. So I've served in those capacities. I've been elected official, not only here, but in another state. But I said that to say I'm aware of what happens in campaigns. I'm aware of how people spend money. But so far, in 2018, 2016, 2022, the Republicans won't even debate me. So if that is the case, I doubt Tommy Tuberville will try to have a debate with me. He will probably act like I don't exist. He might not even spend money on me. He might try to attack the Democratic Party because we're a straight ticket Democratic Party, or a straight ticket Democrat. I should say we have straight ticket voting, so people can vote straight ticket Democrat, straight ticket Republican. That being said, the strategy may be attack the party, but they can't attack me. If they attack me, President Trump flies in and attacks me. If Tommy Tuberville, Senator Tuberville chooses to attack me, they elevate my position. They make me more viable, more relevant, right? So I'm hoping they do. I would love give me a debate stage. I would love if the president jumped on Air Force One and came and talked about how bad Will Boyd is for Alabama. Hey, do it. Come on. It's fine with me. I'm ready for it. Put me on billboards, television. That'll help me, right? Good press, bad press. I'll take it all. But yes, let me be a good politician now. And I hate saying good politician, but let me be somebody to say first, I would appreciate all the financial support I can get. I'm proud to say I'm endorsed by the last most immediate DNC chair that carries weight. Uh, of course, we would like to have the Democratic Governors Association backing us and others, but I'm not worried about the money right now trickling in. I do have people to pay. I know they might be concerned, and I miss a few naps or perhaps miss an hour or two of sleep because I don't have those dollars like I would like to have. But I recognize where we're at in Alabama. The money will come as we move closer to the primary, and as people see it shaping up me against Tommy Tuberville. But right now, no, I'm not worried about commercials. They would only do me good.
Dr. Boyd, let me ask this. I'm sure by now you've read the nice article I wrote about Tabitha Eisner and Doug Jones. A friend of mine who's a very good, a very prominent public figure told me this, and I have no reason to disbelieve them. I believe everything they told me, that Senator Jones and Tabitha Eisner said they needed to see more white candidates run. How does that make you feel?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't read the whole article. Somebody sent it my way, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you. I will try to go back and read it. It's just so much is thrown at me. If that
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah, that's unfortunate. That's the type mindset that I think we need to move away from. I hope that that's not the perspective that the individuals that you mentioned. I spoke to Senator Jones a few weeks ago. We were at an event together. He spoke to me, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I was at an event with Vice Chair Eisner at an NAACP event over the weekend for the closing of a state Alabama NAACP event. We were very cordial. We took a picture together. Me and Senator Jones took a picture together, and again, we all uh, work well with each other, like each other. The reality is, I think people have their perceptions about who they think can win or who they think might not be able to win. I have no doubt entering this gubernatorial race as an underdog, uh, no name ID relative to other people who may have held the office. But I again go back to the fact that people are ready for change, and just being straight forward with you as I can be, leaning even into this conversation. I think a lot of people are tired of people associating Alabama with some single-minded, prejudiced, racist, nativist type mindsets. And it's time out. If it's in our party, it has to go. If it's in our state, it has to go. And I think we really need to be a state that's diverse, inclusive, and trying its best to recognize that there's a generation of people coming behind. I have two of my children in college at the same time, and I have a 12-year-old going on 22. So I'm concerned about the way our state looks. So when my kids, I have to tell my youngest daughter, don't go to the mailbox because there are certain things people put in my mailboxes, and I should have said that publicly, but I have to be concerned. Tomorrow I'll be in Coleman, Alabama, on a slow-moving parade in what they call a sundown town. But the last time I went to that city, Coleman, they treated me like I was a king. We went obviously on the day that was associated with John Lewis's uh, Good Trouble event. It was a nationwide event, Day of Trouble, Good Trouble, and I was well supported. Spoke, had a great time, and I'm expecting all to go well tomorrow. I'm going without my security detail. I'm just going to drive my old 2010 car and ride on that little float at 5 miles an hour. And I recognize all the things that have happened in our nation, even with unfortunately assassination that just took place. But in this environment, just wrapping this up, your question up, your answer up. I know that people don't necessarily like me because I'm a bishop or a pastor. I know some people might not think well of me because I'm an engineer or I'm a Christian clinical therapist. One person had a problem with me because they said I was a candidate from North Alabama. I didn't tell them yet that I live in Hoover. I'm not worried about it, but it's okay. But that just showed that they know their geography, but it's okay. Somebody even used derogatory terms and called me something related to slavery terms this week. It comes with the territory. Now, again, I'm going to say this very clearly. I hope that no one in our party thinks that way. They've not indicated to me that they believe that, but I hope no one in our party thinks that way. That would be truly unfortunate.
Um, Dr. Boyd,
Yes, sir.
Senator Tuberville has become a leader in defending women's sports and for making sure that men that were born boys who later decided to become something else aren't allowed to compete in women's sports. What's your view on this?
My first view is Mr. Tuberville is so, I don't know the right word to use now. Usually I'm not at a loss for words, but let me just say this. It seems that he loves fixating on the three transgender high school athletes versus the 30,000 who may be in a crisis where they don't have enough food to eat. It's always an issue that relates to bringing about division rather than inclusion. Now, as it relates to sports, I'll be very direct. I believe that we should have an open category where people can compete openly, regardless of what their orientation may be, male or female, or how they identify. That should not be an issue. But the whole idea that we're having this discussion is because there is some baiting, if you would, as it relates to transgender athletes competing. I believe LGBTQIA plus should be protected class citizens in the United States. I believe that everybody should have the opportunity to feel that they live as if they were created equal. I do not believe that when we start purposefully doing everything we can to discriminate, to point out how we're different, that is not a good look for Alabama. And that's why large businesses don't want to, not all of them want to invest in Alabama. That's why you have certain artists that won't even perform here, come here, because they feel like we're a hate state instead of a hope state. So I can talk all day about bathrooms. I have rolled out, plans to make sure bathrooms are not just safe for a male or a female, but safe for a transgender person or anyone for that matter. I just believe the whole idea that we're having this conversation at this point in time is sad because Alabama can do a whole lot better. And that's why my phrase is Alabama can, Alabama will. Alabama will do better, and we won't
Hmm.
we won't
Right.
fight like this.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Boyd. I'm kind of thinking about this with both parties. I mean, it seems like Republicans and Democrats are going all in on a group that's like 0.5% of the population. Do you think both parties are paying too much attention to that?
I think we are zooming in on the issue so that we again are polarized and divided. Abortion is not on the table to some people, as they might want to say it or categorize it. What Second Amendment issues to some might not be on the table, as we, open carry in Alabama. So I think people constantly try to find ways to divide us up. Yes, sir. Whatever the percentage may be, uh, that idea that, again, that population should be the topic of every discussion tells you that's trying to divide us up, not bring us together.
Dr. Boyd, I think 2 years ago, a comprehensive gaming bill failed in the Alabama legislature, actually in the state Senate. Um, I know you're in favor of the lottery. Should we just do a clean lottery bill without tacking on all of these, casinos and where casinos go and who gets casinos and whose
Yeah.
casinos are shut down?
Right.
Just, hey, we're going to be in the Powerball, we're going to have the lottery, and that can be a different bill that somebody else can negotiate later.
Are you sure you're not a senator or representative?
I spent too much time there.
Both of you do, I'm sure. So I believe this is the power of a legislative session. I believe as governor, I could call a legislative session, as I said, with the HB 445 issue, hemp ban. I could bring this one up again, the second legislative session, talk about the lottery. I like the idea of a clean slate. You and I both know, all of us know, even though there are not supposed to be certain places where there's bingo, gambling, lottery, whatever it may be. I can drive through certain counties during certain times of the day or night and see certain activities. And I know if I see it, others have to see it as well. So, the bigger issue here, or the problem that I'm dealing with, is we have, as we open the discussion up, talking about the Education Trust Fund and students by zip code and people falling behind and $10 billion, restricted funds, slush fund, whatever it may be. We are basically allowing the education of Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, and Florida to be funded by Alabamians who could very well keep that money in our state. And we could do everything we need to do. Even if, let's just move away from a lottery and the educational trust fund for just a second. Let's just say a lottery by conservative estimates could bring in anywhere from 300 million, some say over a billion a year to Alabama. Imagine if you have a $3 billion general fund budget and you bring in another $1 billion to that. Imagine what Alabama can do. For every $1 we send to the federal government, Alabama has its hand stretched out looking for $3 to come back. We're a poor state. So we need to be looking for every revenue stream we can get. Our restrictive mindset from a fiduciary, from a financial fiscal point of view in Alabama, I believe is why we're in trouble right now. We don't have to be the handout state. We have one of the most biodiverse states. We have a lot we can offer with NASA, with space commands, Space Force, whatever the title may be, up in North Alabama. Innovation is there. Research and development is there. We have right here where we are. Some of us are in the middle of the state. A lot of people doing a lot of work that relates to business, to commerce. We have even down in Mobile area, Baldwin County area, the ability to move, to do commerce, to have stuff on the waters that we produce or importing and exporting. Alabama is positioned better than a lot of states. There's no reason why we should be where we are at all. So this is why we should have that clean slate. I agree with you. Open it all up. Talk about the legislative session, pros and cons. Call those senators to the table. We have some that you well know they might put forth the legislation. They're the ones that might vote against it. It's unbelievable. So, and of course I know we have Porch Creek Indians and and that in the casinos. I know well where we are with that. I was just in the area today, Hueytown, where there was a place where there was a bingo building up for as long as I can remember that still operates, still has still been in operation. So we need, yes, to look at the gambling from beginning to end, open session, and then make some decision. Put it on the ballot. Let the people decide.
Let me ask you this about the lottery. And maybe this would be something that a study would have to look at to get the answer to, because I don't know if it's out there. But is that not, you talked about $1 billion being brought in? Is that not just another backdoor tax that's actually taking money out of the economy, that if people were spending that elsewhere, it would go to more benefit?
No, I would actually say that's money that's people are spending out of their own income, their disposable income. Now you have some people who will do what they want to, and of course hurt their families, and of course that's what the people who are against it would say, right? But no, this is
Mhm.
disposable income that would be applied or used to bring in that revenue. This is not another tax. As it relates to taxes, glad you gave me that segue to come in. That's one of the areas that Tommy Tuberville is talking about, cutting all taxes. Well, again, as a business professor, I'm going to come along and say, uh, whether we're talking about personal exemption, standard deduction, or even the dependent deduction, there are things that we can do to change the revenue stream as it relates to taxes. Alabama has a very, very low tax base. And again, if we had some adjustments made even to the way we bring in revenues, there could be changes that could allow Alabama to do better. Am I saying we need to tax more? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is we need to make sure we're taxing fairly. One of the most repressive taxes that we have is that grocery tax on even food that disproportionately hurts people with less income. So we have to look at the way we tax in Alabama, make adjustments to it, and be open to do that. And that again is why I believe as governor, presenting bold, new, fresh, progressive ideas. And by progressive, I mean Democratic or party. I just mean progressive ideas to move us forward from where we are today.
Dr. Boyd, we've held you here for 53 minutes. We're so grateful that you were willing to come on with us.
Absolutely.
I could ask questions all day, but I better stop. Is there
You don't
anything
have
you would
to. I'm
like
here.
to
I'm
add?
here as long as you want. I'll stay as long as you want.
Is there anything you'd like to add before you go?
I just appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak to both of you. I appreciate the questions you're asking. And believe it or not, I'm gonna say it one last time so I can say it 37 times. I really would embrace, anybody who has questions about my platform to reach out to me, to email me, info@drwillboyd.com. They can again visit my website, drwillboyd.com, and learn more about my platform. We have social media presence out there. We try to be responsive and answer every question, but anybody listening today should feel welcome. One of the things I believe I'm going to bring in to Alabama that's totally different is I want to introduce a whole new energy, perspective. That will be an all-inclusive strategy to the way we do business as it relates to energy. There are things like pump hydro that we can look at. Of course, some people have some problems with the way we handle solar, but that's a whole nother discussion for another day. Wind is we have an opportunity for that. We have a lot of coal miners who are in Alabama, United Mine Workers of America, people know near Brookwood, that we could talk to and talk about energy and what we can do even with the pump hydro abandoned mines. Also want to have 7 congressional offices. Instead of me being in Montgomery and people only coming to Montgomery to speak to me, I want to be available and have staff members that are spread out in every congressional district so that we can more responsibly wrap our arms around the people of Alabama. Again, the top 3 issues are health, the economy, and community stability. As we're addressing each and every one of those surgically in each area, I believe we're going to do better. I have a big problem with Alabama living like a third world country when we can do a whole lot more with the resources we already have. So again, thank you for this opportunity to come on today, and I'm looking forward to our next interview.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd. I'll get this loaded up sometime tonight, and I'll get it out there and put in some Democratic groups, and you can share it to, your people, and hopefully, you get out there to the voters, and they'll hear what Dr. Boyd has to say.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.